Hello and welcome to the show. I am here today on BeamNG Drive, hopefully taking 3 more vehicles around the Proving Ground circuit and driving them until they, well, fall apart. Until they can drive no more. And we start with a curious one, actually. This is the Gladiator. It's kind of along the lines of a Dodge Coronet style muscle car. However, as you can see, this is not a normal spec of the car. This is a rally raid version, so we have much tougher suspension, raised suspension. We actually have off-road tyres on this as well that'll hopefully be quite good. It's a relatively powerful vehicle, so fingers crossed it is going to be doing quite well around here. We have got that fabled wobblematic suspension, or kind of wobblematic suspension, what leaf springs at the back, which is actually pretty good in general for these destruction circuits in stopping the cars from falling apart up until the point where something fails and the whole axle falls off. So yeah, we could see that sort of failure. Drive shaft is a concern. Okay, well yes, this is a rally raid spec vehicle. What we are asking the cars to do around this circuit is a lot more extreme, than normal. Or we can have a slide and apparently puncture a tyre by going through a bush. I mean, it could have been worse. It could have taken a wheel off or something. That seems strange, but there we go. Right, it's a big, powerful rear-wheel drive boat. It moves around quite a lot, actually, as you would imagine. I'm really surprised that took out. I mean, I'd worry if the tyre went out from that. I'd be worried about going across here, because surely that would puncture the tyres worse. Maybe it could be one of those you just hit it at exactly the wrong angle. It does happen sometimes. I think second gear is where it's going to be at. I've got to be careful not to over-rev the engine in these cars. As I said before, I had a little bit of spin. Yeah, we have got stronger suspension, hopefully, than we would see on a normal car. But they're still asking it to do crazy stuff. These are still some very, very big hits. It is a big car, this as well. It's very long, it's very wide, which means if we do have steering issues, I can see there being problems trying to get this through the spinners. It is pretty quick, so we might not be flat out the whole way down here. Oh, actually, the car is pulling to the left now with that. Oh, it's pulling us to the left a little bit. Yeah, we don't want to be going 75 miles an hour across that jump. If you do, you're going to bounce. You're going to jump very far. You're going to hit the ground, bounce back into the air, and probably career into the fence. From about sort of 62 to, well, maybe 70-ish, you're okay. 70 is kind of really fastest. You want to be going over that jump, otherwise you do start really running the risk of going way too far on the landing. Here we want to go as quick as we can, because the faster we're, well, I mean, the faster we're going, the more forces we have going on in the car, but the faster we're going, the better we land, if you like, the less we land on the nose. Dover is a nasty jump, that. That does cause an awful lot of damage to vehicles. This section here, as well, doesn't actually have a name, is surprisingly damaging. It's the radiator that goes through there. Now, of course, let's say the downside, a little bit of the rally spec cars, these take quite a battering and still go quite fast while they are taking a battering. Or they can still maintain their speed. So they do sometimes damage themselves a little bit more than some of the other vehicles. And this has actually got traction, so I can put the power down in this muscle car. The front wheels are not circular anymore. I don't know what shape they are going for over there, but they are definitely not circular. We'll bounce our way across there. Got to get the car straight for these jumps. Really don't want to be taking off the jumps awkwardly. We've got a lot of camber on that front right wheel. That is a concern going on there. It's actually a pretty big concern. I mean, the radiator gone, we are going to overheat at some point. Now, the water will cool the car to an extent. It seems to vary on different cars, and it might depend on how the radiator's broken on different cars. Okay, so that was going sideways across the bumps. How did that not puncture a tyre? And the bush did. Maybe we found a thorn bush or something. That'd be some damn straw. I wouldn't want that. It'd have to be Australian. There's wildlife, well, I guess fauna doing damage. I think that's the right way, if I've remembered my... Regardless, it would be Australian. If there was a bush that could puncture a tyre, it would be Australian. Oh! It doesn't turn very well through the spinners anymore. We do still have steering. The wheels are all sorts of funny shapes and cambered, but we do still have enough steering. We haven't lost a front wheel yet. That is a important thing. That wheel is really wobbly on the right-hand side. That's really sketchy. Oh, it clonked down quite heavily on that. Have we got the front? We might have got some interesting toe angles going on with those two front wheels. The back, the axle and everything is still all good. That is an important part here. We've got to keep those bits together. We've got to keep those, well, we've got to try and keep those bits hopefully working on the car. You know, rear wheels, important. They drive the vehicle, they move it forward, and all of that. Please don't land on the front wheels too much more. Temperature's being kept under control at the moment. With the damage I have in the steering side of things, I'll say with the steering, it's not too bad, but I'm not able to really go crazy with this car in terms of speed. So we're keeping the temperature down. I'm not having to like rev the nuts of it to get it moving. It's still got more than enough power. So the temperature is staying relatively low. This is a good run, actually. After the destruction we have seen lately, piston rings, no! Curse of the commentator has struck. Okay, that is bad news. But yeah, after the recent disasters we have seen from vehicles, this is going pretty well. I actually jumped quite a lot further than I was expecting it to. We've still got steering. Oh, we lost a tail light. Oh no. Head gasket's gone. It might not actually matter too much. We're gonna have to try. We have to try and cool it, but it might not be enough. Oil is overheating. Get into here. I mean, the temperature actually wasn't even maxed out anyway, and we were starting to damage bits in the car. Oh, come on. Come on, vehicle, limp your way. I don't know how that wheel is hanging on to life. It is. Now, something we do see sometimes with cars with this. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. Ignore me. I was about to say, sometimes you get vehicles that damage themselves. Oh, you go through the water, it kind of cools it, and it stops damaging itself in terms of the engine, but the rod bearings have just gone. That does mean we are probably going to see an engine failure any time soon. Now, we still drive it out of the spinners. If we can make it to that back jump, I'd be surprised. You never know. We've still got some speed, so we're not going to fall foul of the crawler rule, whereby vehicles... Oh, we've lost speed, we've lost drive. I think that's the end of the engine. Stick it in neutral, let it coast. That's it. It's gone. It is the end of the Gladiator. I mean, it did fight valiantly there. We'll stick the handbrake on so we're rolling further back. It fought valiantly on that one. The radiator was gone. I don't think the front wheels were too long for this world. Had we kept going, had we not had that radiator snap off, I mean, you can see the camber we've got going on and the toe angles we've got going on. I mean, the loss of the tyre didn't really make any difference in the end. I mean, it looks bad, but it didn't really make too much difference. Tough car. It is a tough car. In the end, just got a little bit too warm, and that was the end of that. Up next, we have a Cherrier, although quite a different version of the hatchback. So this is the torque rack? I don't even know. It's the electric one. It's a dual-motor, all-wheel drive electric car. Overheating? Well, that's not going to be something that we see here. I mean, okay, in reality, batteries and motors can overheat, but I don't think we have that simulated in Beam. It's not something that we're going to have to worry about here. All-wheel drive is good. Drive shafts are different in this. I don't quite know how they work. So, oh, okay. Right, things to bear in mind. First of all, don't need to bother with gears, because it's just driving probably a single gear. Second of all, it understeers a lot more than I was expecting. I think it's quite fast, but you kind of... Oh, it always goes under the radar in terms of speed. It drives awfully. It is the bounciest thing I've ever driven. So this is kind of like it's supposed to be like a crossover-y sort of... It was like the Ford Puma, the new Puma, sadly. The old one was kind of cool. But, digress. That sort of smallish crossover-y kind of thing, it's got very bouncy suspension. It might have bouncier suspension than some of the off-road vehicles I've driven around here that, you know, have, I don't know how much suspension travel, but a lot more suspension travel than this. I mean, I guess that's something we're going to have to live with. It's going to bounce and roll over, although the rolling over is not the worst thing that could happen to the car. Okay, it's got a front flip, actually, I think. The rolling potentially damages the wheels, but it doesn't have the ride height we saw from the off-roaders. So it might not tear a wheel off, and if it rolls, it's not going to break a radiator, because there's no radiator to break. So, I don't know what's going to die on this. I would imagine a wheel. I imagine there's going to be steering, probably. I don't know. This could go on for a while, or it could die quite quickly. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, the landing of the bumps is a problem. The landing of the bumps is a big problem, because, I mean, I just landed that, and that's torn the front left wheel apart. I wasn't doing anything untoward. It actually took off very nicely. The suspension setup on this is terrible. I mean, his shafted jump there has killed a wheel. The worst bit is the wheel's not actually fallen off properly. I would much rather I lost that wheel than have it what it is at the moment, because I think it's still being driven. So it's not only is it fighting against the direction of travel that we need to go in, but the wheel is being driven. Now we do still have steering here, it's awkward. The spinners are going to be a problem. Have I freed the wheel up? Maybe. Oh, now we're going to fight the other way. Okay, well, this is going to be interesting. The spinners are going to be a big problem for this car now. It might get away with it. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, that was all down to the I say it's down to the suspension. It's so bouncy, this vehicle. It's ridiculously... I say softly sprung, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the rebound that's wrong in it. Something, though, because it just... the back end will not stay on the ground. And I'm going to be fighting steering for a while. It's still got plenty of go about it. It's just now randomly dragging itself into danger. We have gone for a fallover. Well, it's the first roll for the car. Well, maybe not. Did it roll on the land? I think it went on the land of the big jump. I think it just went straight into the... Now, if we can't make this corner, we will be counted out with no steering. It does still... I mean, it's basically just got enough steering to be able to carry on around the course. I'm fighting against it constantly, and if that wheel twists halfway through the spinners, we could well be in a massive amount of trouble. We are going to definitely have to use a little bit of handbrake as well to try and help us. As I said, I think that wheel being driven, yeah, you can look on the damage map, it's not showing that corner is broken yet. I could really do with a front left wheel coming off, the wheel axle being broken, something so that stops having drive and stops fighting against what we're trying to do here. But there's no way to rip the wheel off in the car. I can't... Yeah, there is nothing I can do to rip that wheel off. The only thing to do would be try and feed it to the spinners deliberately, but in that corner, and that's never going to end well. We're just going to have to keep going. So it's going to get into the spinner. No, it's going to be trying to get past the second spinner that's going to be the problem. I can get out of the spinners. Oh yes, land on the front left, please. Land on that front left. Keep braking it. Okay, oh, there we go. It just twists inwards. Right, so it's getting... Yeah, we can get in. We've got to try and steer this way now. And then we've got to steer the other way. Oh, okay, we're through. If we can do that slalom, it's definitely still got more than enough steering. It's difficult, it's uncooperative, but it can still do it. It seems if I lift off the power, so we're going to have to do like off-power steering. That's how we're going to have to drive it. Ish. Maybe. Come on. Okay, that didn't work as I expected. It seems to be like when I lifted off the power, it straightened up that wheel. Well, we're still good for 60 miles an hour up here. Oh, that's a rear wheel. Okay. New problems have occurred. Can I actually... now, the issue we may see here is I might not be able to steer anymore because that side of the car is on the floor. Do I have... I don't think I have... Now, I don't think I have anything left to move this. If I can't get it pointing back the right direction here... Now, I'm not allowed to reverse to go around a corner. However, if from a spin... you are pointing the wrong way. You are allowed. I'm not allowed to just reverse around the course. If we've got to that stage, I think it might be a case of it's counted out with steering damage. It is very... it's busted. The wheel falling off was the final nail in the coffin. If we'd lost the wheel the other side, maybe. If we'd lost the front wheel, it would have been glorious. But no, we lost the back wheel that was kind of helpful. It was a fun run, most definitely. A spectacular, silly run. But yeah... The suspension setup is what killed that car. Yes, it lost wheels in the end. That's what technically stopped it. But the way it bounces around all those landings. That is the death of an electric thing. And finally, for today, we have got another American car. I thought, you know what, we'll go with another one. This is the Moonhawk, but this is a four-door sort of sedan version of the Moonhawk. And I've gone with the police spec for this car. The hope being a little bit heavier duty, perhaps, might survive the jumps. That's what we're going to go for. That's what we're hoping for. Are we an automatic? Yes, we are. Okay, well, I guess we're going to have to just leave it in drive and try and not over-rev the engine too much. Hopefully the gearbox will do its thing and it'll be fine. Who knows? So yeah, I mean, differences with this and a normal Moonhawk. As I said, hopefully more heavy duty in terms of suspension, stronger, maybe chassis and all of that. I'm not sure if it's actually any longer, but you know, we've got different body shapes going on, different suspension, different engine. It's not crazy quick, this one. It's still fast enough though, you know, being a police car and all that. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the Moonhawk traditionally very, very strong around destruction circuits, although this particular track has brought out a weakness in the rear axle. The normal sort of sporty Moonhawk, or vaguely sporty Moonhawk I drove, had the rear axle fall apart. The Firehawk, that's also based on a Moonhawk, had the rear axle fall apart. I mean, that had other problems as well, but the rear axle came out, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that in this car. Bit of understeer going on through there. The Toblerones is nicely done for the vehicle, actually, yeah, quite nicely managed and everything. Spinners, I mean, we're not as big as the Gladiator through here. It's not as long or as wide, I don't think, as the Gladiator. It's always helpful. I think the spinner's no problem. Oh, so far, the state of the damage is the bonnet's coming up. We've lost a couple of windows, and the chrome at the back is flapping. If that's as bad as it gets, I'm okay. It's not. Oh, the engine overheated a little bit while we're in the air. See, I don't know whether it works in Beam. I would imagine it probably would only make minor difference. But, the bonnet. Well, that's going to make life more difficult if you're in the car. And the bonnet, like the hinges are broken, the latches are broken. Whatever. As I was saying, in air control in cars, you have a very, very small bit in theory with the wheels spinning. So if you rev the car, you spin the wheels up in the air, you get the nose to come up a little bit. We're not talking very much, but you can a little bit. So I kind of, when it was looking like it's going nose down, I kind of want to rev the engine a bit, but I also don't want to over rev the engine for what might be a minuscule, possibly not at all advantage or gain. Just trying to protect. It's the radiator, I guess, is probably what we're a little bit concerned about with the Moonhawk. Drive shaft and radiator. That's what we're concerned about. Well, mostly with this. We could lose wheels. If we could leave a jump wonky, we could lose wheels, but the suspension doesn't seem to be taking too much of a battering. We don't have too much power, so I don't know how much power we have, but the gearbox is so lazy that we don't seem to have that much wheel spin going on, so I don't think I'm going to spin it coming up towards a jump because of the... Oh, I say that as I nearly lose control on a landing. Okay, you know what, maybe I'll shut up. Maybe we should just not try and commentators curse this into oblivion. That would be a good idea. We will try and avoid doing that sort of stuff. Through the puddles we go. Nothing breaking on the underside of the car. We will... Yeah, okay, so we're cruising across these with no real problems at the moment. That's actually survived the first lap pretty good. Like, visually, yes, it looks a bit bad. The roof's buckled, the doors are flapping, the bonnet's flapping, the boot's buckled, or... I don't even know how that happened. It's not even the boot itself, it's like the back fascia of the car is buckled. I don't know how we managed that. I guess maybe on the landing of shafted, it hit the back of the car. Ooh, fuel tank, that's a good point. We haven't seen too many fuel tank failures from the old muscle cars. Tended to kill the drive shaft first, but the fuel tank, well, you can kind of see it at the back there. If we land heavily on the rear of the car, we can rupture it. We saw the ambulance, I think, is the only fuel tank. Oh, the Victron might have gone out with the fuel tank as well. But yeah, if we land on the back of the car, we could see the fuel tank go. Although you rarely land on the back of a car with the way these jumps are designed and with the way the cars fly through the air. But it is a possible. It's looking quite... Ooh, it's the chassis around... sort of just behind the front wheels is looking a bit sketchy. That's what we have, again, it's what we've seen with this series, with this track. It's a chassis and drive shaft killer, and that is where it does start to bow on the vehicles, because we hit the ground like that, and it sort of pushes the front up, it bends it in that middle point, and at some point the engine, well, the kind of angle from the engine, from the gearbox to the rear diff, is too much for the drive shaft to deal with. I'll have to wait and see. Oh, no, we're fine. I mean, you can actually see how buckled the roof is, as to how bent up a lot of this car is. It's doing well to keep the drive shaft going at the moment, and the radiator's in one piece. That's something. It's obviously not landing quite heavy enough on the front again. I mean, it's really pushing the front of the car up. That is going to hurt the drive shaft at some point, I suspect. Okay, that landed more on the back of the car. Did I just lose a front wheel? No. Okay, it wobbled around. As it landed, I saw the front left look like it was wobbling as if it lost the tie rod, but, you know, it's still all good here. Across the jump we go, still landing nice and flat. That is good news for the car. These it wasn't wrong about this being a more heavy-duty car. It's taken a hell of a battering, and nothing... Visually, it looks bad. I mean, it looks like it's on its last legs, but mechanically speaking, it drives in a straight line. There's nothing wrong with the back of the car. We've not even lost the radiator yet. Oh, what was that? What did that hit? If something on the underside catches on one of the checkerboard bits, that's normally a bad sign. What did catch? Nothing came off and nothing got damaged. The door's fallen off. I mean, if the underside starts catching on the checkerboard, we're in trouble. The Toblerones haven't really done much to this car, actually. I mean, it crashes down on the ridges a little bit, but that's not too bad. The spinners, well, we have perfect steering. Hey! Actually clonked the bonnet. No, maybe the bonnet will stay down now. Just clipped the bonnet with the spin. I couldn't do that if I tried. And I wouldn't want to try. But maybe that's folded the bonnet down and we can get a better view of where we go. Not that too much of a problem from third-person camera and all that. I think it's going to flap up the second we take this jump. Yep. Okay, well, it lasted briefly. Here we go, across the big jump. We are losing speed at the moment. I'm not sure why. We came out of the carousel as good as everywhere else, but that time we were hitting... Well, it was only about 58 when we left the jump, so it's starting to get into perilously slow territory. It's not mechanical engine damage. Oh, don't get too sideways. Okay, well, I mean, it's still driving. I mean, at the moment, I don't really... The concern is the angle the chassis is going to. That's the big concern I've got, is that that's going to get caught on something. Mostly the checkerboard, possibly through the shallow grave. These jumps, I guess maybe it's going to land on the wheel. I think the front suspension... There goes the radiator. Okay. I guess it was only a matter of time until that went. It's been almost dragging on the floor with how buckled up the chassis is, so I guess that makes sense. Well, now it is going to overheat. The front left looks very low to the ground. I think we might have lost what little suspension travel was there. And it's been through quite the tough test, this. Maybe that landing there bends the chassis back a little bit, because it lands more on the rear of the car through there. Oh, okay, that definitely doesn't feel good across there. There's a lot of steam, I guess, pouring out of the radiator. The exhaust has come off. That's to be expected, really. The whole car is basically dragging on the floor with the chassis damage. It's dragging on the floor around the middle point of the car. Right, shallow grave is both important to cool my car and bad news for anything under my car. We are through without any major damage. What is the checkerboard going to do? Bad things. Okay, I don't know what hit. We've lost... All of the doors have come off. All the doors have come off. What's left of the exhaust is hanging by a thread somewhere. It's pretty busted. But the chassis... I mean, maybe whatever we hit bent the chassis back up again? Is wishful thinking. Front left is steering quite a lot. It visually looks like it's steering quite a lot, but I'm actually not feeling the effect of it while driving the car. Okay, it goes mostly in a straight line still. I don't quite know how that's happened. It looks a lot worse than it is. Maybe the other wheel's cancelling it out. Possibly. Both a bit buckled. Yeah, it looks like they've managed to be almost perfectly cancelling each other out. It does drive almost dead straight. For a car that's this far into proving grounds, to still be driving even close to dead straight in the steering department is impressive. The shallow grave did help cool it for this lap, but I don't know. It's going to cool it, but it's going to get hotter every lap, I think. So it's going to get closer and closer to overheating each time around. So it will be limited. This is still a very good run for this car, for the Moonhawk. Obviously, the tougher rear suspension is keeping that axle in place on this car. Oh, but there goes the drive shaft. Well, stick it in neutral. Give it its best chance to roll as far as it can. That's still a good show. As I said, that is a good showing. Slightly disappointed the drive shaft went in that one. It was putting up a hell of a fight. That was putting up one hell of a fight around this course. The rear axle stayed in one place in the end, but you can see just how low the gearbox is basically dragging on the floor at this point. So, yeah, that is the end of the four-door Moonhawk, the police car. Still, A very valiant effort indeed. So, on to the leaderboard, and we have a decent showing from the Moonhawk, actually. The four-door Moonhawk will go into a 6th position, kind of perhaps where we'd more expect that car to be, I guess. Those have been pretty strong previously, and guys, the reinforced, the tougher police version of that, it survived. Yes, the drive shaft did go in the end. It was overheating, but it took a hell of a battering before it got to that stage. I'm curious about what got hit on the underside quite so badly in a couple of places, but it got away with it all. Now, we do have to go a little bit further down, not too far though, to find our next vehicle. It is into a 15th place for the Rally Raid Gladiator. Again, not a bad showing from that vehicle. It did overheat. The suspension, well, stayed alive in that one. The drive shaft stayed in one piece. The radiator did take a little bit of a smack on that one, and then just gradually overheated the vehicle. I mean, it's an off-road spec, so it doesn't survive too badly, but little too much for the old temperature. And finally, we have to go quite a bit further down, actually, to find the electric car, the Torak, or however you want to tog race. I don't know, whatever the weird electric thing is. The worst setup on a car I think I've ever driven, just in terms of the way that suspension works. Bounced it around something terrible, and in the end made it, well, bent up wheels and ended up leading to wonky takeoff from jumps. Tore off a rear wheel. Once that was gone, it was pretty much game over for that vehicle. But there we go. That is going to be it for this episode. As ever, I shall link all the mods used in the description so you can download them and have a go with them yourself. That, though, shall be it from me. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.